Hello, welcome to the podcast. Is this another week when I have done this podcast already and re-recorded? Yes, it is. Because I backed the video in the fucking thing. Because it turns out, so Spotify Wrapped, which you'll no doubt have been told, either you listen to music that's way too young for you, or you're an old man and should be fucking put down in a field like mine was. Somehow my Spotify Wrapped age was 66, right? Fair enough, because it was like, you listen to mainly stuff from the 70s, but also all of my top 10 most listened to things were Lankham, Kneecap, and Fontaine's DC. Anyway, but what I was saying was, when you are a creator on Spotify, it gives you like your Wrapped, like your like what you did this year, and it turns out for maybe the first time in my life I am ahead of the game on something, because I'm in the top 15% worldwide of Spotify video podcasts, because nobody else does them yet. So I was like, well, I'll have to just start that again. Anyway, that's all to say. If you're listening to this, great. If you're listening to this and want a look at what my living room wall looks like and a little bit of my kitchen, then, have at it. What you won't see is the absolute fucking bomb site that the rest of the flat's in, because I've had to move stuff around and make it look half nice on camera. I fucking just... Why does everything have to be on fucking camera? Anyway, doesn't matter. But look, I've had a good week. This should be good crack. Although I like right this morning. So how I do this is like through the week I'll be like making little notes on my phone about like, oh, maybe I'll talk about that or whatever. And then the morning I record them, I go to like a coffee shop or somewhere and kind of sit with it. And this morning I went to one near us, and at 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock this morning, in this coffee shop, I had to sit through two people's work meetings back to back. Why are you in a public place and then doing a Zoom meeting? Why are you getting up in the morning and first thing going, will I do this Zoom meeting in the house? No, why would I do that? I can go and fucking annoy 10 people's heads first thing who are trying to just fucking chill their way into the morning. Oh, I couldn't believe it. It felt like I was in an orienteering for a new job that I didn't want. I was like shadowing this person. There's two of them, right? And I'm not joking. I have no idea what either of their jobs was, but to me it felt like they both worked in exactly the same company. They were just saying the same stuff. Reintegration, or no, what was it? One of them was like, really the integration between our two systems in hindsight was a lot more difficult than we had planned for. And what we will have to do, I think, going forward is we'll need to figure out where the blocks that stop that forward movement, where those blocks are in the company, which is code for someone's getting fired. Like, that is, look, fucking some idiot in this place can't use the new system and it's fucked everything, and they need to be gone immediately because we are integrating whatever we do. What do you do? I have no idea. Something to do with marketing. Maybe. I don't know. One of them was talking about L'Oreal a lot, I'll tell you that. There was a lot of hair stuff. But like back to back. Oh, it was grim. And everyone else was just there acting as if it was fine, It's not fine. Go somewhere. I'll tell you where it is acceptable, I think, is hotel lobbies. Because I think there's like an awareness that if you're in a hotel lobby, you might be staying in a hotel, or you can't, for whatever reason, you can't do it in your house or whatever. So I'm like, I'll accept that, right? I'll accept hotel lobby. A coffee shop's a public place. You can't just have a meeting there. Like, come on. Smash cut to me tomorrow on a Zoom in a fucking coffee shop. No, I would hate that. I don't even like talking in public. Do you know what I mean? I don't like that. Especially when it comes to do with like work or something. Ugh. Yeah, really hard day. I've been doing those reports, and the third quarter's looking, it's challenging, but I think we're just gonna about do it, and that's great. And our plan for the Q1-2 of 2026 is aspirational yet achievable. I'm like, fuck me, it just all is the same absolute nonsense. If you're gonna do a work meeting, like I'd do it in your house. It was honestly like me recording this. Like if I, because you can only hear one side of the conversation. So I'm like, if I imagine you went to a coffee shop and there was a fucking guy just there doing a podcast in the corner, you'd be like, that guy's mental. But the person beside him on a Zoom, you're like, that's fine. None of it's fine. None of it's fine. And once again speaks to the collapse of society in my eyes. Thanks very much again for the people who signed on to the Patreon. I appreciate it. Patreon, you get it a day early, so this is out already. This, if you're listening to Spotify, this was out already, so you're late to the game. And if you're listening to Patreon, you got it first. Hey, congrats. Also, this week I'm doing another Patreon episode straight after this, where Patreon basically is the stuff that I'm like, I worry that this could hurt my career. This is the stuff. This is stuff where I'm like, I know I'd be advised to not do that on a public platform, and so that's what I'll do. I'll put it there. So Patreon this week. Actually, well, last night was my comedy anniversary, so the anniversary of my first ever gig. So I'll probably talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about as well the Operation Canova / Denton, which will mean nothing to you if you have no interest in Northern Irish history / politics. But if you do, or you like spies and stuff, then I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but not loads, because I will do a proper full thing about that. I'll do like a mini documentary, I think, about that at some point soon. And another thing which I literally can't even mention on here, but I will talk about the Patreon. Anyway, so sign up to the Patreon, links in the thingy. What else did I do? All right, this weekend we had a nice weekend. We were at a friend's wedding. One of Jenna's best friends got married, and it was lovely. And as much as I hate the thought of weddings or like any social gathering whatsoever, even where I love everyone there, I still am going to hate the thought of it until I'm there. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is good. So we were there. We were in the middle of Dartmoor National Park at a hotel, which is quite nice. I had no signal all weekend, which was nice. Off-grid, bro. It was off-grid, except for the Wi-Fi, which was good and fine, but you couldn't really do anything with that. And the wedding was nice, although like classic, like a wedding's always a mix, right? And it's always, I think, you're like I basically knew all of Jen's mates I knew and I really loved, so that was good. I'll crack, and seeing them I was like, oh, that's good. And then but there's always sort of, there's the odd bins, there's the people that your parents make you invite to a wedding, and those are the ones that are really the issue. And that I struggled with. There was a guy there who was like, he must have been 60 odd and seemed like a very pleasant fellow. And then we started talking about housing. And look, here is the thing. I am lucky in my life that I intersect with many different people of political stripes and persuasions, from, fucking even more left than me, which isn't easy to find that. But so even more lefty than me, to you would say like far right adjacent. I wouldn't call them friends, but like I come across and I enjoy talking. I enjoy talking to those people because it's like talking to aliens sometimes, and you never come across them and nothing. If you just refuse to engage with anyone, it doesn't make sense, I think. Like you have to speak, which is different from starting a podcast where you let fascists give their fucking sales pitch. That's not what I'm talking about when you're selling your magic beans. Selling your magic beans and silver, and then having dictators and war criminals on your podcast. That's not the engagement I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you're at a wedding and you meet someone who's probably going to vote reform and you're like, what's going on in your head? Anyway, this guy, I don't think he was a reform guy, but he was certainly a Tory, old school. Anyway, we're talking about the housing crisis, and this person worked in construction. We'll say that, right? So he worked. So housing was like a natural conversation topic, and I said I have a question for a lot of these guys, especially in an industry, and I don't know if this is a dumb question or not. No one's ever been able to answer this question without me either immediately realizing they're fucking numbskull, or it just their answers didn't make it hadn't been thought about. Anyway, the question I ask these people is, why is it not possible for the government, and I don't just mean here, this actually it's a question really I think about when I'm in Ireland a lot more. So in Ireland for the last like 20 years, you could say, all we hear about in the Republic of Ireland is that it's like economically booming because of the tech firms there. There's tons of tax revenue, even when the revenue they don't want. Like that fucking 11 billion or whatever that Apple was forced by the European Union to pay, and even the government was like, we don't want this. Anyway, so there's loads of money. So Ireland has got like mega tax money, and also has one of the worst housing crises in Europe because of high house prices and not many houses, right? Obviously, that's what our crisis is. But in Ireland, it's slightly different because we're also I think this is right, or certainly David McWilliams at one point said this, to where we have in Ireland, we have the least built on land mass in a country compared to rents. So like there's tons of places that we could be building but aren't, to keep the rents unnaturally high. So my question always is, why does the government, if their whole thing is like, oh no, well these companies build them and they make them too expensive, why does the government not create its own construction arm, right? So not nationalizing, you still have all the other ones, but you have specifically a government construction company, and its only job is to build social housing, right? Which they will get the money back for. You just they set the rents for the money. So, it'll just be a longer pay for itself, but it will pay for itself. So I was like, why? So I asked this guy, it was like, just like, oh, why do you know why that isn't a thing, And he said, well, I don't know that is a problem. And I was like, well, I've asked this question in a bad way or something. And I was like, no, I mean, like, obviously there's thousands of people who can't afford housing. So we need more houses. So why doesn't the government just set up its own thing and build them and sell direct or whatever? And he was like, no. He was like, I understood, but I don't think it's a problem. So I was like, right, okay. And then you reframe immediately. I'm like, right, okay. Wait, what? Wait, what do you mean? What's not a problem? Housing. And he was like, yeah, I don't think it's actually an issue. He goes, I think people can afford housing, but, if you're going out eating dinners and takeaways and you've got Sky TV, and I was like, oh my God, this is a real thing. I had read that argument. You read it in like the fucking viral letters that go from the Telegraph, when it's people who are like, well, if these 20-year-olds weren't eating avocados every day, they could afford a $400,000 house. I was like, he flummoxed me, And he goes, well, he's like, we have two children, and they're struggling to get on the property ladder. But we say to them, you just have to not be going out, and you have to make those sacrifices, like we did, like we did when we bought our first house. And I said, okay, well, how much was your first flat? And he said, oh, which, as soon as someone starts prevaricating like that, they have just realized they sound like an absolute dickhead whenever they're about to say what they say, right? So it's the equivalent of a politician buying time by going, well, first of all, what a great question, and thank you so much for asking me that. And the whole time they're like, fuck, how do I get out of this? So this guy was like, well, I mean, I was like, well, what was it? He was like, well, we bought a flat in West London and it was £30,000, and admittedly, my grandfather, he gave us 15,000 for that. And I was like, right. And then I was like, I mean, I didn't do what I would have done 10 years ago, which was immediately fucking went, what the fuck are you talking about then? You fucking out of touch idiot. Why is... But I didn't say it. I was like, well, not everyone is lucky enough to have had a granddad who could buy them half a house. So now what? And he was like, well, if you're saying that we need to build like these thousands of houses, he's like, well, where does that leave me? And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, like, the values of like my house will drop. What am I meant to do? And I was like, you live in it. You live in the house. What do you mean? What are you meant to? And in my head, as soon as I heard myself going, I was like, I have to leave now. And I took myself out of the conversation. Oh my God. And of course that guy was doing the worm later. Of course he was. Hey, I'm a fun guy. Yeah. You're a fun guy who thinks people shouldn't be allowed to live in houses or go for dinner. Oh boy. Anyway, it's outside of that was the only the point. The rest of it was lovely, and the wedding was beautiful, and I cried, but I cry all the time, so that doesn't really matter. And the hotel was unreal. It was like a 5-star hotel. Now, here's the thing about 5-star hotels. Firstly, let me say this. I don't know what kind of bed they had. It's the most comfortable bed I've ever slept on. To the point where they had a spa that we could use. And the only really free time you had was in the morning, before. We were there for 2 days. So before everything kicked off, you had time. And I forewent the spa to just fucking lie in that comfy bed. So top marks in that. But I'd had to say, one thing I've noticed about 5-star hotels is that what they love doing is have staff just fucking crawling up your hole every time you turn around. And that is the worst way to treat me. Do you know what I mean? Like, we went in there, they wouldn't give us the key, right? So we didn't need a hand with the bags on it, but wouldn't let us have the key to the room. Had to have someone there to come there, and then they came up to the room with us to open the door. And you're like, great. Why are you in my room now? At 7 o'clock at night, they came in again to do a turn down service. I'm like, I can take the covers off the bed. I don't need you for that. At every point, there was 2 of them in particular, these staff, that were incredibly annoying. And they were annoying for 2 different reasons. Both of them thought they were hilarious. And one of them was just like, everything he said was a joke. So I was like, I asked him for a Diet Coke, and it was like, the Irish guy, he's not drinking, blah, blah. I was just like, just get me the fucking Diet Coke, man. I don't want this banter back and forth. I'm like, just, and look, that makes me sound crazy. Of course it does. But it's at every point, like every time you're like, oh, where's the bathroom? Oh, what? You need to go. You can't hold the thing. You're like, just fucking tell me where it is. If I'm asking you for information, just give me the information. That was one. The other one, who was also the same, the other one had a problem where he he said two sentences too much at every possible interaction. Um, and like one of them was they were coming around with canapes or something, and I was sat chatting to one of Jen's friends, and he had that like slicked back hair, like a 80s villain, like proper like greased back hair, and he would just pop over your shoulder. You know that thing of like slip, if there's two of you side by side, he would just slip in the middle, and he's got the tray of whatever, and he goes to Jenna's mate, I know you'll want one of these, you absolutely love them. And he said it like that. You absolutely love these. Because she must have had one. Which immediately she was like, I'm not having that. Get fucked. Like, he was like, here, have one of these, you fat pig. You love this. You fucking animal. You can't control yourself. Have this. Oh my God. Grim. And he was like that the whole fucking weekend. Every time I turned around, he was slinking along, sleeping along. Oh, yeah. What can I get you? I'm like, I don't want your hands anywhere near me, you Bill Cosby creep. But that was good. So having said all that, I had a great time at the wedding. And that was good. We came back then wrecked. And there the other Monday night, then we were back, and we were after weekend, I was like, I want to watch something brainless, and I'd listened to Jerry Seinfeld on a podcast, right? I find him kind of really interesting. I can't stand his comedy. I don't get it. I don't know why people laugh at it. I've never understood it. Seinfeld, the TV show, I like. That's a different thing. But like him doing stand-up is exactly what I don't like, which is like emotionless, bits of joke with no real, I feel like, no real like underlying, nothing real. Anyway, he was on this podcast, and I didn't realize it was an old one. He was talking about this movie, and they were saying how good it was. He was in a movie with Bill Burr called Unfrosted. Glass of water there. And Unfrosted. And so Jerry Seinfeld is the world's leading cereal nonce, right? As in breakfast cereal, not he's a multiple noncer. Although he did have a very creepy relationship with a teenager when he was in his 30s and picked her up from school. And though legal at the time, it is grotesque. Anyway, but he loves breakfast cereal so much. He made a movie about him being the guy who invents basically all the biggest breakfast cereals. And he put loads of people in it, and it is the worst film I have seen in so long, and I could not stop watching it. I was amazed. I was amazed at how bad it was at every point. Like, at every point. It was like a school play. Like, if in school they were like, we're going to make everyone can do a play, whatever you want, you can write this play about. And someone was like, it was like on the morning that it was meant to be handed in, had done no work, was eating a bowl of cornflakes and was like, fuck, and went into ChatGPT and was like, write me a movie about breakfast cereals. And this is what they come up with. It's the dialogue is crazy. It's so bad. It's unbelievable. I can't stress how hard these lines don't work at any point. He is a marketing exec who also creates the stuff. Hugh Grant is Tony the Tiger. He's the only thing that's good in it. It's like Hugh Grant he's good in everything. Like in every way. I think he understands who he is. He is Hugh Grant in everything. He will be Hugh Grant. And that's what I want from him. Anyway, he plays a actor who's failed Shakespearean actor than Tony Tiger. He's good. The rest of it, oh my God, so bad. Bill Burr plays JFK, terrible. Jim Gaffigan, who's brilliant, plays Mr. Kellogg, awful. He's terrible. These are all good. But like these people can't act, by the way, and so you're like they're not the issue, you know. And it never gets better. Like at every moment, you're like, at some point this has turned around. To the point where I paused it and went to the reviews, and it has like some okay reviews. A comedy's back by The Guardian, which is why you can never trust The Guardian about comedy ever. They have no fucking idea what they're talking about. Anyway, so yeah, so you can't imagine, right? Here's the perfect example of what in it. By the way, they have the end of it ends in like a January 6th style storming of like a government building as like an in joke in it, right? Mad. By Hugh Grant, Hugh Grant's the fucking guy who wears a helmet with horns and all. Anyway, in it, right, they have a character. It's sort of based sort of loosely on like real people, right? One of the characters is called Humboldt van Brandt, who worked for he was like developed, I think, cereals and stuff he invented X-ray specs and one of them other things in the like 50s or 60s or whatever. So he's in this, right? And in the film they have a joke because his name's Humboldt von Brandt. They make a joke that like he's one of those Nazi scientists who, like in like Operation Paperclip after the Second World War, America stole them all, and he was in as part of that. So they're like, you know, and I can never just tell you where I've come from, all that kind of stuff, right? But I was like Googling the real people, right? So in the movie, this person, right, is a former Nazi. That's what they have him as in the movie. In real life, firstly, he was a Jewish guy, right? So you're like already crazy. Secondly, wasn't a Nazi, right? Was a member of the Aryan Brotherhood. Like in IRL, this guy was in the Ku Klux Klan, basically. Even though he was Jewish all his life. And like multiple times in the record, like spouted tons of racist and abuse and all. Why is he in that movie? Like this is Jerry Seinfeld, I think, perfectly summed up, where he is so like, well, it doesn't matter. Why would that matter? Like none of it, that doesn't matter. And you're like, aye, but we don't need that. Like, you know, not everyone in this is real. You know, fucking JFK didn't save cereals or whatever. Why don't you just call him something else? No, we're gonna do that. Even though this guy isn't the Ku Klux Klan, you're like, yeah, we're gonna give him his due in this. Like, and White. I just can't get my head around that guy, man. Seinfeld. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, great. Like when he talks about comedy, I think he obviously knows what he's talking about. He's been doing it forever. When he talks about anything else, you're like, how are you alive? How are you existing in the world with everyone else? This is out of its mind. It even looks bad. Like it looks like it's filmed with the same cameras they do comedians in cars getting coffee. And that's not, I mean, it doesn't look like a movie. Do you know what I mean? Anyway. Oh, I can't recommend it enough. I will say, I was high as balls watching it. But, like, that should have made it better. Do you know what I mean? Like, that shouldn't make it worse. It was a comedy. It was meant to be. Amy Schumer in it. She's terrible. Who else is in it? Oh, just, like, it's crazy. It's on Netflix. It's a classic Netflix movie, you know. Here's fucking $40 million to a stand-up to do whatever you want, and they're like, great, here's a piece of shit, now back. Is there any chance we can get another series of that David Fincher serial killer thing? No, we don't have enough money. We've given it all to Dave Chappelle and Jerry Seinfeld. Class. You sure, even though that's one of the best TV shows of all time, and you're about to spend $72 billion to buy Paramount, you don't have enough money so that I can see what happens? No, it's too expensive. You see, why don't you fuck off, Ted Sarandos? Probably should have kept that one for the Patreon. Anyway, outside of that, I played football on Tuesday night, got smashed in the dick from about 2 yards out by a guy blasting the ball, so that was a delight. A true delight. True delight. Cock and balls. So, and here's the thing. This is where I'm so toxic. I could not allow anyone to see how bad it was. Even though it literally felt like I had burst my penis at one point. So I didn't go down the ground, roll about like a fucking, Premier League footballer. You just get back on with it. And inside the entire time, I was like, I think I'm going to be sick now. Sometimes being toxic is good. Anyway, and if there's nothing else you take from this podcast, it's sometimes being toxic good. What else was there? People were asking me about the jaw operation thing, which I can't even remember saying on here. But I have a tooth root that's grown into my sinus or something and needs out. It's not a big deal. I'm not getting my jaw removed, which would make comedy very difficult, admittedly. Anyway, outside of that, I watched. Finally, I will talk about this only because the other night we got to go and see. There's a TV show called Black Ops on the iPlayer BBC show, and I hadn't seen the first series, to be honest. But we got invited to watch the first 2 episodes of the second series. Like, it's out next year, and I just realized I'm fucking not allowed to talk about it. So I can tell you, and here, it's so good. Oh my God. It's so good. And it's like, so it's an all black show. The premise is that in the first series, I believe what's happened is they are like volunteer cops, which, as you know from my history, I'm a big fan of. And they unravel some big conspiracy, right? And the second series moves on from that. But what I can say, I think I can definitely say, is that so in it, in the Q&A afterwards, they were so good. The lady's name is Bami, and the guy's name is AK. The 2 writers of it, who I think had something to do with Famlam as well, which is very good. But I was like, this is cool because that is what I want to do. And I was watching and was like, I think this is like everything feels a bit closer at the minute. It's so exciting. I think like for years, you can't see yourself moving really. And then sometimes you take little leaps forward. And at the minute, it feels like a lot of that stuff has become more possible. The idea of doing a TV show, writing a TV show, it feels like achievable now where it didn't really before. And especially at the moment when it's such a fucking cool, like, the people that I know that are buzzing, like Mike and Vittorio were just on Deadline Hollywood's comedians to explode in 2026. Vittorio was number 1 in the world. Like, this stuff is like, it all feels like things are happening and bubbling. So watching that was very cool. And, you're trying to, I don't really know anything about making TV or anything. So I'm trying to, you're trying to pick things up. And one thing that I loved was the girl, Bemis Sola, I think, I can't think of her surname, said was, and AK, to be fair, they made a point of thanking, like, the cinematographer and rigging people because they talked about like how black people are lit and how they look on TV, which obviously I'm fucking never thinking. I don't even know how you like white people for start, but like it's so stupid. But I'm like, of course, like different tones need different lighting, and the 2 leads are like very different shade. Like one's very light skin, one's very dark skin, and they were talking about like it's the first time that feel like they've seen like black, like a ton of black people all look good on camera, and like, geez, I was tearing up. I was like, oh my God. Like, it's so ridiculous, 2025. But I also was like, I need to get the name of that fucking dog for it, because if you can make them look good, maybe you can do it for us. Anyway, So watch out for Black Ops Series 2, I would say, or watch the first series if you've not already, because that was so good. All right, I'm going to say goodbye now, and I'm hopping straight on the Patreon episode. So if you want to keep listening to me talking about the other stuff that I can't talk here, then jump over there. Links in the bio. I think it's $3.50 a month or something. It's literally the cheapest possible. It's the cheapest one I could do it on and make it work. So anyway, thanks if you've already signed up. If not, sign up there. Give me a shout on Instagram as always. And have a great week, and I'll chat to you next week.